Well, a very good Friday to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to today's European Outlook. Hope you've enjoyed your week and the upcoming weekend. Once again, it looks as if we are going to lose the clear blue skies, the cold frosty nights, the warm afternoons, and it's going to give way to much more unsettled conditions. Southerly winds has brought the warmest temperatures of the year. Yesterday we had 21.3 at Northolt on the outskirts of London. This afternoon we did actually knock on the door of 20 around the Inverness area. I could be wrong, but that may be the warmest spot in the UK this afternoon. So we transferred some of that core of warmth from the south up into the north of the UK through the course of today. We are going to see changes through the course of the weekend. We are going to turn more unsettled, but eventually it will turn also cooler as we progress in the next week. But I want to draw your attention here to this graphic. I know it's a little bit hard to see. I do appreciate that, but this is the European version of the drought monitor. And you can see that we've got the areas. This is something I'm going to be honing in on, in quite a bit of detail over the next few weeks, because this could play into the summer idea. But generally, we've got some dry conditions. Now, again, this is extending back to the last third of February. And what I would expect to see is this area of drier than average across much of Ireland and the northern UK. I think that's going to expand as this updates for early and mid portions of March. We are talking about only 12 millimetres here at Marvogan Weather HQ, coming off the back of 22 millimetres during the month of February. Yes, we're going to turn wetter over the next week or so here, but April is looking dry also, especially the further north you go. I think it's definitely going to be, or I feel relatively optimistic that we're going to see this kind of dry, blocky north, low pressure trapped underneath, where we're going to have the wettest compared to average. And this is all building into the overall ideas with regards to the summer season. Now, I wanted to show you this here. This is the current temperatures. This is off the Braemar, Ballater, Deeside and Donside network. But looking at live Met Office temperatures, and you can see that their network is holding on to some fairly warm conditions. Now, it did hit 17.8 this afternoon here at the house. We've still got 16 Celsius, but cloud has filtered in. That's forcing the temperatures to drop somewhat. As we pan further down, you can see here some single figures along the east coast where you've got that onshore breeze. Temperatures on the sea surface of only 6-7 Celsius. So you get that breeze coming in off that. The land usually reflects the sea surface temperature at this time of the year. And then, obviously, when you've got a more pronounced wind, as that crosses over the hills, it dries, it warms. You've got the warmest temperatures downwind of any land or mountain area. So you've got, essentially what I'm getting at here is you've got 11.9 here at Normanby Hall, which is just to the west of Hull, where you've got 16.8 at Crosby in the Liverpool area. So it depends on where the wind's blowing at this time of the year. It can make a massive difference in terms of the temperature. Looking down towards the south, and you can see here that we've got 16.4 in Benson, Oxfordshire. We've got 17.3 at Chertsey. That was another location, I believe, that reached 21.3 Celsius yesterday. So, we had, a relatively early first 21 Celsius for the UK, and here's a perfect example: 16.9 at Kinloch U, when you've got that wind coming in from a southeasterly or southerly direction. As those winds cross over, you get somewhat of a Fern effect. Another interesting one I wanted to show you here. This is off Braemar Weather's own network, and a diurnal range of upwards of 20.4 was achieved at Phalange Glen. Hope that's the right pronunciation, in Aberdeenshire. So obviously we've seen these big swings back and forward. Clear skies, light winds, and drier in place. At this time of the year, you get these big swings. It happens every year. There's nothing unusual. I'm getting a couple of comments saying, having to scrape the car this morning, then I've got like a t-shirt on in the afternoon. That's typical for this time of the year, albeit perhaps you would expect that more in the month of April as opposed to mid-March. But generally speaking, it's no surprise really when you get this big swing. This is a transition time of the year, and when you've got blocking high pressure, that is exactly what happens. But we've got generally 18 to 20 diurnal range across the central Cairngorm region here, where you're basically sheltered from any sea effect and also any breeze. You typically find you've got the biggest range in terms of temperature. So thanks to Chris for letting me share that information with him, and I will continue to share in the coming days as well. Looking at the latest visible satellite, very messy conditions. We've got several areas of low pressure spinning around. A little bit of a Fujiwara effect here, with lows deepening and developing off a parent low that's centered over Biscay. We've got these little features that kind of spin up, develop within the circulation itself. Beautiful to watch, actually, on visible satellite. But that's continuing to feed heavy rainfall and localized flash flooding across parts of Spain and Portugal, possibly into France, in the central areas of Europe. The high pressure is now well to the east here and northeast, hence why we've got clearer skies over the northeast of Europe here. But it's as that high then shifts into the Baltic region here, that's what's allowing this area of low pressure to the west of Iberia to now lift northwards, spreading its moisture up into the UK and Ireland. Probably good news for gardeners, because it has been very dry in recent weeks. We actually want to see a little bit of rain coming off this, and it looks as if it certainly will turn quite wet through the next few days here. So looking at, let's have a quick look at the arpege model in today's video. I tend to like to try and show you different types of model, mix it up a little bit, keep it interesting. If you're enjoying the content here in the channel, by the way, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Leave a comment also. I'm back into trying to respond to some of the comments as well. Sometimes it might take a few days for me to catch up on some of the comments, but do leave a comment and let me know if you're enjoying the content, and give me some feedback with regards to what's being discussed here on the channel as well. But continuing to build the ideas with regards to the summer season, we're going to be looking at the tropics as well. You've got the possibility of some sort of an El Nino trying to develop in the East Pacific. I think that's going to be later down the road, by the way. I think that's going to be beyond the summer season. I think it might more be effective in terms of the winter next year. So again, we're going to be looking at that as well. So plenty of reason to stick around here. We're going to look at a little bit of the long range in just a second. But look at this here. There's the parent low. Features developing around that circulation. Tremendous amounts of moisture continuing to pile in across Spain and Portugal. Our thoughts are with folks down here who are suffering from the extreme rainfall. We've seen this in recent springs as well, when you've got this blocking to the north. We've got this undercutting jet here, but there's the moisture then lifting north, and it looks as if it's going to turn very wet, especially across the northern half of the UK as we progress through the course of tomorrow. Continue to see that that chilly air driving a mix of rain, sleet, and snow into Iberia. No surprise, obviously, when you get a couple of thousand meters above sea level, you're talking about the precipitation in the form of snow. No surprise, obviously, with that. But look at this here. We've got another little feature here that one of the several areas of low pressure. We've actually got a small feature running to the Portuguese coast. We've got the main low edging towards the northwest of France, and then we've got another feature that all part of the same low that's kind of spinning off the parent low. One piece is actually up near Orkney by the time we reach later Saturday. That's going to enhance the rainfall. And you can even see the banding features. You can see these convective lines here where you've got converging winds enhancing the rainfall across the spine of the UK, the eastern side. We've got two individual bands of intense rainfall associated with converging winds here. Continue to play through. You can see here very heavy snow on the southern flank of the Alps. Very heavy rainfall into north and central Italy here. So quite a messy picture. Notice where the position of the high is now. It's way out into western Russia. And that's why we're seeing all this unsettled conditions then moving bodily in a widespread fashion across the western areas of Europe. And obviously ahead of all this mess, we've seen the warmest temperatures of the year so far. Now, this is the month to date so far, and you can see that largely warmer than average, with the exceptions of southern UK. We've also got cooler than average, no surprise, over Spain and Portugal, thanks to all that wet weather, low pressure dominating, and obviously very warm conditions the further east you go over the continent. This is the anomalies, by the way, over the course of today. and very mild compared to average, especially so across northern Iberia, France, the Low Countries. We're talking about the temperatures edging towards the mid-20s, eastern Belgium, western portions of Germany. We're talking about temperatures in the high teens, knocking the door of 20 parts of England and Wales. And then, like I said already, we had the near 20 in the Inverness area of northern UK. We've also got mild conditions across Iceland, but in stark contrast, we have got much cooler conditions across much of Turkey and Greece into Bulgaria as well, where last weekend we were talking about the 28 to 30 Celsius. 3 days later, we had the sub-freezing temperatures during the afternoon with snow. Just incredible this time of the year when you've got these wild swings back and forth. So these are the current temperatures across the UK as already shown. But I want to show you the continent as a whole, and again, largely milder than average with the exceptions of northern Norway, Sweden, Finland, and also Turkey. We're talking about the below average conditions. But even at this hour, as of nearly 5 p.m. in the evening, obviously skip forward an hour, and we're still talking about the widespread low 20s over the near continent. It'll be interesting to see when the maximum temperatures are verified by the Met Office how warm we got up here in the north. Certainly my unofficial station, 17.8, warmest March on record, but the record only goes back to the 2 3/4 years. We had another 40-degree day, by the way, down across central Algeria. We're talking about some mid-40s down towards Mali, sub-Saharan Africa. We're seeing real build-up of heat here down across this region, and obviously as the subtropical high lifts north, we're going to see these temperatures, these 30s and 40s, continue to progress further and further north over the next 4 to 6 week period as you get the natural build-up of strength of sun. You lift the high, you're lifting the jet further north, seasonal progression, which obviously is natural. You see it every time during the month of March and April. Usually sub-Saharan Africa, parts of the tropics as well, tends to be the hottest time of the year over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then we actually start to see the hottest conditions then lift up into the middle altitude pattern. You start to see the intertropical convergence zone. So you actually start to see the heat building across parts of Indonesia, Southeast Asia. Very hot time of the year. Then that convergence zone where you get the trade winds meet, that's the intertropical convergence zone. That's going to continue to lift further and further north. So we're going to bring the return to the rainy season in areas that are seeing the hottest conditions of the year over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I do apologize about that, but that is what the channel is all about. So anyway, we'll close off in a second. I want to show you real quick the ECMWF extended. This is the upcoming 7-day period. I want to draw your attention closely to the low pressure across. This is surface pressure, not upper level. Look at the amount of low pressure across anywhere from the Gulf of Alaska across Canada. The core of that low heights compared to average anyway is over Hudson Bay and the Baffin Straits. We've got low pressure locked in Biscay. We've got higher pressure across the top. We've got the strong area of high pressure over the central North Atlantic here. That is locking in any influence of the Atlantic here. It's generally all locked up. But I want to draw your attention. The reasons why I'm showing you this is, remember what I said to you in yesterday's video about the final warming and the effect of the stratosphere into the troposphere and then the building of pressure. Now, somebody had mentioned, and I can understand the reasons why, about the high latitude blocking, and there's not an awful lot of cold air to speak about. My point really isn't so much about the cold, it's more about rainfall distribution and the lack of it in terms of shutting down the Atlantic over the next generally 4 to 6 weeks, and what influence that may have on the summer or early summer pattern. That is the reasons why I'm talking about how there's quite a lot of importance with regards to high latitude blocking, and how dry it's been feeds into what goes on in the month of April here. So very dry, largely February. Then the month of March, we've got obviously some regional variability that has to get factored in. But then as we progress into the month of April, given the models are indicating drier than average, especially the further north you go over the UK and Europe, that then could have an influence on the atmospheric pressure as well as the temperature, evaporation rates. If you've got less moisture in the ground, the sun's energy can go into directly heating the air as opposed to evaporating the moisture that's coming out of the ground if you have a lot of wet weather. So these are all aspects that I'm looking into. But watch this region here, particularly northern Canada, Greenland, North Atlantic, and western areas of Europe. As we play through this loop, watch what happens with the pressure at the surface. We're starting to see this strong buildup of pressure. Yes, we've got lower pressure extending across much of England and Wales, so we could have wetter than average for here. But look at the pressure to the north, Greenland towards Scandinavia here, also from the Azores, Central Europe, Central Atlantic, up into the northeast passage here. You've got generally a lot of higher pressure building, and we continue to see that pressure really, really build across the top here, over the Arctic region, over Greenland, forcing the jet. We're approaching the weakest time. April, and particularly into the month of May, we tend to find the jet at its weakest levels. That's going to allow the pressures to build up across the top. But it's what happened within the stratosphere that we are now seeing the response of. Continue to play through. Look at this here. Low pressure down towards Iberia, high pressure towards the north of the UK and up towards Greenland, Iceland, Scandinavia. And that looks as if that's going to continue even through into the middle portions of April. It looks as if we've got this strong block to the north over the higher latitudes here, and that continues all the way to the end of April, which is very interesting stuff. So that is obviously the ECMWF run. Let's have a quick look at the GFS extended and see what it's indicating. We'll go back to the here and now. Obviously, this is surface pressure, not upper level. Play through the loop. You can see here lower pressure encompassing more of the UK and Ireland, if you notice here in the 7 to 14 day, which is interesting. But again, we've got the block over Central Europe. We've got keep saying over Central Europe, over the central North Atlantic, and also to the north of the UK over Greenland. Continue to play through. We're forcing the trough further south. We've got the high over the top here. So like the ECMWF, it looks as if it's trying to build that pressure through the month of April, and as a consequence, we would be talking about drier than average, and that is the whole point in what I'm saying. This is me talking less about necessarily cold. We may still get chilly conditions because of this this overall setup, but the point being more lower pressure. Look at the amount of low pressure down towards the Mediterranean and through Central Asia into Eastern China, and the block, the high over the northern latitudes here. Certainly very interesting to see. And let's have a quick look at the precipitation anomalies here over the next 30 days. So it probably makes more sense to look at the next 30 days. You've got wetter than average conditions across Iberia. You've got, let's have a look at Europe. It would make more sense. It'd be easier to see here. So this is the next 30 days. This is the period out to Saturday the 19th of April. And you've got drier north, wetter south. And temperature-wise, it's looking like this here over the next 30 days. So it's actually around average, below average, France and Iberia. That would make sense if we've got wetter than average conditions here. Over the next 35 days, it's looking like this here. This is out to the 24th of April. So again, very long way out, but the general idea is now becoming a little bit more fixed in my head with regards to the April outlook. And I'm starting to maybe join up the dots for something a little bit beyond that. It'll be interesting to see how all this pans out. Finally, live stream, 4 p.m. this upcoming weekend. I hope you can join me for that. I'll leave a link in the description below. We're going to be talking about the major flash floods across parts of Europe, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Australia, extreme heat in other parts of the world. We've had some cold in places as well. We'll be looking at that in much more detail at 4 p.m. this upcoming Sunday. I hope you can join me for that. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend coming up. Bye-bye.